Story 1. A classic 1980s snow day. Let me set it up for you. The snow sets in at night, and you're excited. You heard your parents say a storm was coming in and they might have trouble getting to work. You know that means they might close school in the morning, but there's only one way to know for sure. You fall asleep late, covers clutched around your neck because it's only 60 degrees in the house, as your father refuses to turn up the furnace. Thermostats are sacred after all and must not be adjusted unless it gets really cold in the house. Morning comes. It's around 6 a.m. You rub the sleep from your eyes and bounce out of bed to see a frosted winter wonderland outside your window. Several inches have fallen, and the roads have yet to be cleared. You know it's going to happen. You run into the living room and flip on the floor model television in its shiny polished wood cabinet. The static fuzzes on the screen as the picture comes in. You wait with bated breath as the names of local schools and businesses scroll by along the bottom of the screen. Finally, you see it. Your school is closed. You run to tell your parents, and they groan. You skip into the kitchen and pour a bowl of sugary cereal, drown it in milk, and settle in front of the television, which you've already switched over to cartoons. After breakfast, you suit up in that big warm cozy snow suit you know looks dorky. You slip on your moon boots and head out to the garage to get the sled, making your way to the nearest hill, hoping to see your friends. You play for hours, up and down the hill until your legs itch and your skin turns red. You head home for a nice bowl of whatever Chef Boyardee your parents had in the cabinet, then retire to your bedroom to play Nintendo. Story 2. Saturday morning cartoons with my dad and a bowl of Captain Crunch were special. I would still enjoy it today, but it felt different as a child, more magical. Story 3. Honestly, I would love to relive my elementary school life. Looking back, I would do anything to experience those days again. Story 4. Being blissfully unaware of what is happening in the world and playing outside until the lights came on. Story 5. One time my school had a cakewalk. They used chalk to mark numbered squares on the floor like hopscotch, and we all walked on the squares until the music stopped. Then they called out a number, and whoever was on that number got to go to the baked goods table and choose what they wanted to take home. The parents, usually mothers, would donate a home-baked treat. One year I won. I walked to the table and, with no hesitation, picked my mom's cupcakes. There were better desserts there, like a whole cake, but I wondered why I would want someone else's cake. Mom got teary-eyed. I thought I had made her mad, as she didn't talk much all the way home. However, she didn't punish me, which confused me for years. Much later in life, I realized what it probably meant to her that I chose her dessert. Now, I wish I could make her feel appreciated just one more time. She deserved a bigger life than she got. But she made it pretty cool for us kids despite everything. Story 6. Family gatherings. When everyone comes together for one night to forget about the world and feel united as ever. Story 7. This thread has made me realize that I don't have a single moment from my childhood that I would like to relive. Even the occasional good memory, like receiving my first Nintendo at Christmas or a snow day, is laced with trauma that I have had to spend a lifetime coming to terms with. Story 8. My father took me shooting or fishing. He was old and quite frail, but he made the time and effort. That, or my mom's well-done steak. I don't usually like my steak that way, but sometimes I crave it. Thank you for the nostalgia. Story 9. A lazy summer day with no responsibilities, watching cartoons in the morning, playing outside all afternoon, and then relaxing in front of the television all night. Those days felt long, but in a good way. You had all the time in the world to do whatever you wanted. Story 10. At age 12, I went with my parents to see the original Beatlemania at the Pantages Theater in Los Angeles. Following dinner at Carlos and Charlie's. It was a magical night. Story 11. The day I spent with my dad was in spring, and it was a bit wet and cold, almost snowing. I was probably 9 or 10 years old. We went to watch a spring baseball game in town and ate hot dogs. We wandered around La Belle's and looked at all the merchandise. When we got home, he gave me my first 10-speed bike, which he bought from his secretary. It was a glittery bronze color. I loved that bike. It was a wonderful father-daughter day. I'm pretty sure my mom asked him to take me out of the house for some reason. I have always loved spending time with my dad, and this day has always stayed with me. Story 12. Lying on my grandma's couch in her living room, surrounded by her countless cats, I watched Boomerang and Cartoon Network while eating too much ice cream and drinking orange and grape soda long past my bedtime. She has dementia now. I would give anything to experience that one last time, you know? Story 13. Born in late November 1995, so I got to experience the tail end of the good old days. It's funny. I'll be 30 this year, and I would give anything to go back to elementary school. I guess I just miss having no responsibilities. That carefree mentality children have allows them to pick something up and enjoy it any time. I miss not having to survive each day and figure out dinner. I love my wife and son, but I miss being that little boy. Story 14. Bonfire night features baked potatoes, burgers, sparklers, warm night air, the heat of the bonfire, the smell of wood smoke, and explosions in the sky. I miss those parties. They bring back good memories. Story 15. Running in a heavy summer rainstorm with my best friend from middle school was an unforgettable experience. The orange skies and booming thunder created a dramatic backdrop. My grandmother gently scolded us for being out in the storm, but it felt like a scene from a movie. We were soaked within seconds, running on the empty country road, laughing and splashing in puddles. The smell of rain on warm pavement filled the air, and for a brief moment, everything was okay. Story 16. Staying home from school, watching Blue's Clues on our large sofa, and eating Keebler elf crackers was so nice. Story 17. Watching fireworks from the back of our wood-paneled station wagon, eating old Dutch chips and bulk candy and drinking Gatorade with my sisters. My parents are still together. I believe I will live where all the previous generations lived. I think we will always feel secure and loved. Story 18. Renting Nintendo games and staying up with my cousin all weekend trying to beat them, because save files did not exist. We also played track and field on the Nintendo with the power pad, giving up on running so we just beat on the floor. Story 19. Being with my parents, preferably at my grandparents' house, is something I would give almost anything to experience again. Story 20. Seeing my favorite movies for the first time makes me wish I could forget them entirely and rewatch them again. Story 21. Swimming all summer day in one of those flimsy plastic-walled pools, with my wind-up bath toys and snorkel. Story 22. I thought I knew everything by age 13. Boy, was I so wrong, and now I look back. My parents were incredibly patient and understanding. If only I could find a way to make it up to them. Story 23. True freedom. Literally no internet, no mobiles, no social media. Our parents let us roam free on the farm until dark. We rode horses daily during the school holidays, climbed trees, and played using our imagination. We had not a care in the world. The 1980s and early 1990s were the best. Story 24. At the age of 9, I visited the World's Fair in Queens, New York, in 1965. When I was 7, I took a ferry with my Catholic school class to the Statue of Liberty, wearing my little yellow polka dot dress. I also remember going to the Philadelphia Zoo when I was 8 and taking a bus trip to Pennsylvania Dutch country at age 10. Story 25. Going back to our family house when I was a child before my parents divorced. I wanted to properly say goodbye to it all, with everyone under the same roof and all the memories. I had no idea what was happening at the age of 10. Story 26. Being able to run for miles with pain-free knees. Spending the entire day playing tennis, catch, and Mario Party with my friends. Living without a cell phone that constantly reminds me how the world is falling apart. The feeling that I can look forward to a future that will be better than the present. Story 27. I remember when my mom would go to work on the weekends, my dad would get us McDonald's with 3 pancakes and a round sausage in the styrofoam container. I have fond memories of this. Story 28. Late nights at 9 o'clock with my dad, playing the original Zelda while enjoying hot cocoa and marshmallows on the side. Every night was wonderful, and I think I went deaf the first time we beat Zelda. Story 29. Spending Thanksgiving at my grandmother's house was special. Her birthday was November 19th, So we had a combined birthday and holiday gathering at her home. She made only the turkey. The rest of the meal was brought by family members who attended. We usually set up 3 or 4 tables. The kitchen table was extended with 3 extra leaves to seat 8. The formal dining table could accommodate 6, and there were 2 folding tables for 4 each, usually designated as the kids' tables. The turkey was not the traditional kind you might expect. I'm not sure how she cooked it, but there were 2 turkeys that were cut up, deboned, and placed into pans with stuffing added around and over the pieces. Once they were ready, the pans came out. There was no arguing over the legs. Instead, everyone received a generous serving spoon of stuffing along with whatever meat accompanied it. Plus, there was always enough stuffing for everyone. Story 30. Not quite my childhood, but my early teens in the mid-1970s. I came from a very poor family and did not have a stereo, only a simple AM/FM radio. My friend, who was well off, had a quality stereo. A group from my friend circle would go to his basement and listen to a new album that one of us bought or received as a gift. Just sitting with my friends and listening to a whole album is something I would give a lot to experience again. Young people today will never understand the fantastic experience of listening to a new album for the first time with friends. There was no YouTube or personalized playlists. Whole albums produced by incredible musicians are what I miss so much. I can still remember my friend introducing me to Rush, and I brought Hotel California by the Eagles one Saturday morning. Story 31. Watching Matlock and Murder, She Wrote with my grandparents, and then making ice cream sundaes with my grandma. Story 32. When you and the friends rode bikes from sunrise to sunset, getting chased by dogs and feeling the wind, it was so nice. Now I just feel strange whenever I am on a bike. Story 33. Dinner and an ice cream treat at Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor. After the meal, I visit the store inside the restaurant to admire the variety of candy treats. Taking a basket, I fill it with the candy of my youth and take it to the cashier. While paying for the candy, I add more to share with my friends in the neighborhood. At the end of the day, I slip into a peaceful sleep, dreaming of ice cream. Story 34. I once didn't tell my parents that a tooth had fallen out and just hid it under my pillow to find it there the next morning without money. I wanted to go to them and say I proved the tooth fairy doesn't exist and they had been lying to me despite my suspicions and their assurances. My dad responded with, "Ugh, fine, yeah," and gave me the dollar anyway. He bought me a Ninja Turtle. Or, well, I probably just returned the dollar and they bought it. Even then, I knew those cost more than $1. Once you exit a tooth-based standard, your understanding of the economy expands rapidly. This happens every time you reach a point of shattering your childhood and feeling somewhat proud of it. Story 35. Gatherings with family are enjoyable. There are no worries or stress. Just show up and have a great time. Fall asleep on the ride home and wake up in your bed. Story 36. Driving my first truck, a 1971 Ford, when I was 16 down the backwoods dirt roads with my first girlfriend to the low water crossing over to the sandbar, lighting a bonfire and hanging out listening to the Krakow stereo and swimming until midnight. I still have that old truck at the family home, but they closed access to the river over 30 years ago. Those were the best times and memories. I actually ran into my first girlfriend about a year ago. It's been 44 years. She recognized me right away, but I couldn't place her. She said, "Yes, you know me. I know your nickname you used to go by." She told me what it was, and it all came flooding back. We talked for hours about everything. We exchanged phone numbers and talk often. Story 37. Having Sunday dinner at my grandparents' house was something I took for granted as a child. I miss tasting the love in my grandma's cooking and her sweet, warm hugs. They always had a candy dish by the front door filled with strawberry candies, and I always took one to go. Story 38. The chance to shop at Newberry's was a thrill to explore with my allowance in the early 1980s. I can still smell the cheap lunch at the counter with balloons on the wall that you could pay to pop, and whatever you got under the balloon was what you got to eat. The best part of the store was going downstairs to the basement to see the fish, birds, and turtles or the crafts area. I was a yarn lover at 10 years old. I was in heaven choosing which yarn I could buy with my meager allowance, feeling every texture and mesmerized by all the colors. I can afford the fancy, expensive yarn shops now, but nothing will compare to the thrill of going to Newberry's in the 1980s. Story 39. Honestly, the traditional New Year celebrations in my country are memorable. As a kid, I would play with water outside my house with anyone I saw on the road, showcasing the new fancy water gun my dad bought for me. We enjoyed special homemade food, shared it with neighbors, and helped people cook while indulging in more food for free. Almost every house set up a mini stall to showcase their home-cooked dishes or cooked right in front of their homes. The smell of the national flower filled the streets. This festive atmosphere lasted for 4 days until the first day of the new year. Now, the country is in a dark phase, and ethical people do not celebrate the new year with any nationwide activities. This has been the case for 4 years. I wonder if it will ever be the same again, perhaps before I die. Story 40. Dad took me to the fair, where I rode the carousel and waved to him each time I passed by. I remember when we went on the scrambler, and I sat on the wrong side, getting squished by my dad, who was 6 feet 4 inches tall, while I was a little shrimp fighting for dear life. Story 41. Picking fruit in the garden with my grandma and sitting in her library reading while she wrote on her computer. Roaming the neighborhood with my friends and having adventures. Story 42. I have this vivid memory, or likely a collection of memories rolled into one, where I can picture a clear summer day in the late 1990s. All the kids were at our house in the front yard. We had a brand new boombox with a tape deck and a CD player, playing Now That's What I Call Music, or whatever Sublime tape or CD we had on hand at the time. We were all just running around like maniacs, playing hide and seek tag. I ran into the garage to grab 3 sodas for the boys and my sister. One of them took it and showed us how we could poke a hole in the center with a push pin, shake it up a little, and shoot soda into our mouths for an even cooler way to drink it. Then we ended up getting all sticky because, of course, that would happen. Without getting too deep into my memories, I probably enjoyed playing Top Gear 2, a Super Nintendo racing game, with my dad. There was something so fun about that. He and I have since graduated to playing golf together and discussing music, but there was something so pure about our little pre-bedtime ritual that I'd love to experience again, as a 6 or 7-year-old with my current level of knowledge, or just be a fly on the wall for it. Story 43. Every year at Christmas, a star would appear in the hills above town. It is one of my life's biggest unsolved mysteries. We would drive around for hours looking at Christmas lights and trying to find it. All we knew for sure was that it was in the north. For some reason, it was impossible to pinpoint its exact location because every time we had a theory, we would see it the next day and think it looked like it was somewhere else. The star's appearance each year marked the start of the Christmas season. That night was always the first time we went out looking at lights. This probably went on for 10 to 15 years. We never managed to locate it or even find a good candidate for its location. Every time we thought we had, the next day we would realize it couldn't be for some reason. I would give anything to chase the Christmas star one last time. Story 44. Riding with friends to the drive-in movies while enjoying 90s alternative singles for the first time. Goofing off without a care in the world. So nostalgic it hurts. Story 45. I would like to relive Christmas morning when I was 8. My parents gave me a GameCube, the Game Boy Player attachment, and a copy of Pokemon Sapphire. To this day, it remains the best Christmas I have ever had. Story 46. That first roller coaster ride. I was 9. The excitement, the rush, the desire to get right back in line. Story 47. Staying at my grandparents' house during summer break, playing Nintendogs before bed and watching TLC shows. No work stress or school stress, just excitement for whatever the next day would bring. Story 48. Riding in the car with my childhood dog. It has been a year since we had to let her go, but she had declined a year before that. I remember the last time she played with a ball and how I had her back for a little while. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.